Good evening, and welcome to another jury-rigged version of Diatribes from the voice of Doom. Now here's your judicious and jocular host, voice of Doom. Hello, I'm back. I got another subscriber the other day, and I got a comment, which was a positive one, so I figured I owe it to that person to do another diatribe post haste. Because I don't want to see my fans, I think there's two now, I don't want to see them disappointed and going to their computer every morning hoping they'll see something from Doom, and alas, nothing's there. And I wanted to do this one about the recent Supreme Court rulings because that kind of news gets stale real fast unless there's rioting, which I haven't seen a whole lot of. I wanted to comment on how the Supreme Court makes decisions, not how they do it, but the effects. Now, most of the Supreme Court rulings have to do with corporate trusts and whatever, gerrymandering, voting rights, this or that. Very boring, and nobody pays any attention to it because nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. Although they're getting easier to understand now because the quality of judges is going down. Not like the old days when they actually sounded intelligent. But I'll just talk about the three major ones that people do pay attention to because it has something to do with what they have either a vested interest in or just interested in general, just to virtue signal. And it has to do with unvirtuous things that the Supreme Court saw fit to get rid of, that the virtue signalers and the wokesters are up in arms about because they're basically evil. And they want to perpetuate all the worst qualities of humankind. Now, I'm going to go backwards in time a bit to about a year ago when this Dobbs Act, or whatever the hell they called it, was decided on, and the Supreme Court found that the federal government has no constitutional business having anything to do with abortion or legislating it, that belongs to the purview of the states. And that caused the world to start setting on fire because all the people that have place such a high value in the freedom to kill your offspring if they are inconvenient, got up in arms, and there was all kinds of hell breaking loose, and they looked horrible. They looked like very horrible beings, malignant entities, running around the street, doing awful, horrible things. I mean, it might be good for some Greenwich Village theater doing performance art where you want to just really shock people, but I saw some things that were horrible. And I talked about that last year. I talked about it to death, even though I have no dog in that fight. I already said how stupid, how awful it looks to be out on the street advocating for basically murder. And you can call it what you want. You always can give it a nice name. Women's reproductive rights, women's health. Most women will die during childbirth, so something has to be done about that. But that's just one of three that I wanted to comment on, actually 3.5. The one this year that has people all upset is we're not allowed to discriminate anymore. And America has been based on discrimination for centuries. It's one of our foundations. It's one of our cornerstones is discrimination. And technically everyone discriminates. I can look at a very nice looking cake, and then I can look next to it and there's a cake that's all smashed in and there's a handprint in it, and I can say, I think I'll take this better looking cake. I'm discriminating, aren't I? They could taste both the same, but just on appearance alone, I want this other cake. So everyone discriminates. But I'll get into this affirmative action, overturning it. I'll say a little bit of information about it. It's also known as positive action or positive discrimination. Kennedy in 1961 was the first to really coin that phrase when he declared Executive Order number 10925. And it basically was an executive order saying you can't discriminate. You can't base your hiring on race, creed, or color, or gender, or they had that later, but it was a non-discrimination executive order, and it was like you have to give everyone equal opportunity and equal treatment. Once they're hired, you can't say, well, because you're not a certain pedigree, then you can't move up in the ladder. We hire you, but you're not going anywhere. Now, ableism, we got into that a long time ago, that if you're able to do something, then that's not fair. Everyone should have a fair chance. Everyone should have an equal chance to be an airline pilot. Now, that pays a lot of money, and back in the day, man, they had it cushy. They worked like 20 hours a month, and they got like three-figure incomes. Six-figure incomes. I don't want to start again. I would like to be an airline pilot, especially if they have the autopilot thing going on. And I can simply learn to land a plane and take off on a plane, such as certain terrorists learned about 20-something years ago. And then let autopilot take care of it from there. So anyone should be able to do it. I would like to be a surgeon, even if I'm not capable and don't know my way around a human body, including my own. But I should have the right to learn on the job. Just because, why should you discriminate by hiring surgeons that went to medical school? That's not fair, is it? So I've already talked about equilibrium, how they're trying to force equilibrium and force equity. And look where it's gotten us. Look around. Look at what used to be this country, and look at it and see if trying to force equilibrium and equity and forcing diversity has done any good for anybody. I'll say a few things on my own. Okay, admissions. Let's talk about college. Now, let's just say Harvard, considered the top of the top of the Ivy League. The very most intelligent people, best grades, the most capable are admitted to Harvard because they're exposed to the top professors and the top education that money can buy. Now, we only have so much room in the college, so we can only get so many people in here. That doesn't make sense. If a person can afford to pay $100,000 a semester, or $200,000 or whatever it costs these days, then you'll make room, won't you? Because you're getting that extra $1 every year from this one student. Now, you get 10 more students, you get $10 million. So you can find room. You just get a few folding chairs and put them in the room. Don't tell me there's only so much room in a college. There's only so much room in an arena where we can only hold 100,000 people. And any more than that would be a fire code violation. Because you're packing people in like sardines. You just can't do that. Now, that's one of my main gripes about, they're talking about there's only so many spaces and we need diversity. And if we have to lower standards for certain people, then we'll do so, because we need to have a diverse-looking college, and there's too many people here that are non-white, but they're not the kind of diversity we want, because there's too many people of Asian persuasions, Mongoloids, you might call them. And there's too many people of Indian persuasion, but they're not the Indians that Columbus found when they tied his boat up to the dock. They're Indians from India. Too many of them in college now. There's too many damn intelligent Asians and too many damn intelligent Indians. And the Indians have the same complexion as the people of color, so we are going to discriminate. We're not going to allow you in, even if you got 800, 1,600 on your SATs. Straight A's, 4.5 grade point average for 4 years. Sorry, you're too capable. You're too qualified to come to Harvard. We need somebody who has poor grades but has a certain pedigree. So we have diversity. We don't care if they're not capable. We don't care if they're mismatched, which became a problem. And everybody knows this. It's so damn obvious. Why should I even talk about it? It's discrimination, and it's an insult. It's an insult to people of color, and it's an insult to Hispanics and all the other people that they want to, lower the standards for, saying you can't get the grades that you need, but we need you, so we'll let you in anyway, and you can just start towing the line after you get in. They didn't have the study skills to make it through high school. They didn't want to. Why didn't they want to? Because it's uncool to be smart. That started in my day in high school. It was really uncool to look smart. You had to be dumb. Otherwise, you were going to be made fun of. So they made stupidity an attractive trait, and intelligence was not an attractive trait. You're a geek. You're a nerd. Look at the geeks and nerds now. What are they doing? Making microchips? Making computers. The nerds right now are stymieing our food supply and insisting everybody get serums for whatever pandemics may come our way next. So these nerds kind of, I'll leave it there. Okay. Petri dish was holding this carrot in front of very stupid rabbits that don't have the brain capacity of a rabbit, holding a carrot in front of their face saying, I'm going to forgive all your student debt. So even though you weren't qualified to go to college, and even though you paid, $50,000 a semester to get a liberal arts gender studies degree, you borrowed all the money for that, and we know you didn't use it for college. Mostly you used it to pay your bills and to party. But we're going to pay it back for you. We'll forgive all the debts. Now, prima facie, on its face, unfair. How are you going to do that? It's not fair to the people who paid off their debt. It's not fair to the people who didn't take out loans. It's not fair to any student that just struggled through college. And it's not fair to the people that took out the loans, because it teaches them bad habits that wait long enough, Petri dish will forgive all my debt. If he wants to give me my mortgage and forgive the debt on my mortgage, then I will gladly support, forgiving those loans. He wanted to use the HEROES Act. I thought the HEROES Act was kind of an act, legislation to benefit heroes such as veterans and, first responders and people that died in 9/11 and things of that nature. But no, HEROES means Health and Economic Recovery Omnibus Emergency Solutions. It was an act made during the COVID pandemic to inject $3 trillion to give people free money so they could stay home, which has proven out to be a total failure. He wanted to use that and to pay off these loans, and the Supreme Court said, nah, that's not in your purview. It says very explicitly in the Constitution that the Congress holds the purse strings. So what does Petrie do? Say, well, I'm sorry, students. I'm sorry, all you people that were expecting this, but I'm still working on it. I'm going to find some way to get that for you. So come 2024, remember, I'm the only one that's trying to get this for you. So, absurd. We all knew it was absurd at the outset. It's just as absurd as using the HEROES Act to give reparations. Sounds good on paper, but just the logistics. What if you're half a person of color? What if you're a quarter a person of color? What if all kinds of what ifs? What if you're rich? I'm a person of color. I've made $10 million and I live in a nice house, but I want my reparations too. I mean, it's not tenable. It's not going to happen. These idiots with their long gray beards and their afros can spout all they want about injustice. You can't redress injustice like that. It's only going to create more injustice. And they've been legislating injustice for decades now. And last but not leastly, I want to touch on this one ruling they made about religious freedom. Had to do with a guy that wanted the day off on Sunday, and suddenly the post office just couldn't find enough manpower so that they could give it to him. And, that seems wrong. I think he was with the PO for like 30 years, and he had Sunday off the whole time, and Sunday they say no. It's almost like they're deliberately trying to poke the bear. But it has to do also with cakes for gay weddings and whether or not a person has to comply with non-discrimination legislation saying you can't say you won't make a cake for somebody just because you don't believe in what they're doing. Now, okay, you can argue both sides of that. If I had more time, I would argue both sides of it very well, better than most of these idiots that we see in the administration or any of these lawyers or even the Supremes. I would argue better on both sides than they do. But the bottom line is, why do people have to just always, go somewhere where they know they're going to have problems just so they can make a bigger problem? I mean, you believe in gay rights. I believe in gay rights. Everybody should believe in gay rights. But everybody should have the right for their lifestyle. I have a gay lifestyle. You have a religious lifestyle. But you're not allowed to go against my lifestyle, but I'm allowed to go against yours. It's absurd. And I wouldn't want to make legislation one way or the other. But what I would want to do is just say, look, if we should try to keep the peace. And if you're in a fringe group, don't rock the boat. Don't make political hay. Because I know this one place, they got a cross on the damn door. They said, Jesus saves. I see a sign in there, so I know that they're not going to want to do this for me, and I'm going to make a federal case out of it. Why don't you support your own group? Oh, there's no gay bakers? None? Not one. I mean, why don't you support your own, marginalized group? How does the gay baker feel that you have to get the cake from this religious fanatic, this religious nut, and you don't come to my business, and I'm sympathetic to everything? Well, I don't want to come to yours because you agree with me. I want to go with somebody that doesn't. So the whole world's malicious. The whole world is a blood-soaked sin fest. And I don't know about if there is a God or not, but if I was God, I would just say it's over. There's going to be an asteroid belt between Venus and Mars. And I'd be done with it. I'd say I tried, but it's not working. Boom. But that's me. Now, I'll leave it there. It went too long because I was rambling on about this affirmative action. And I have other subjects I want to talk about later, having to do with doomism and a few other things. So I'll leave that there for now and enjoy the night. Good night.